October 12, 2000, Port of Aden, Yemen. The U.S.S. Cole, a United States Navy destroyer, is refueling in port. The crew is eating breakfast. A small motorboat pulls alongside. Two men are on board. They smile and wave at the sailors on deck. Then they detonate their explosives. 17 sailors are killed, 39 wounded. Al-Qaeda claims responsibility. The United States government strikes back at training camps, but stops short of the kind of decisive blow that might have actually mattered. The reason? A presidential election was underway. Clinton was a lame duck on his way out. The last thing he wanted was to deal with some bearded terrorist in a cave. The problem would land on his successor. These attacks, Kenya, Tanzania, the U.S.S. Cole, were not random. Looking back, they were test runs. Bin Laden was probing American readiness and probing the response of the most powerful nation on earth. Each time he concluded the same thing: America is weak. Strike its heart. 1996, a training camp in Afghanistan. One of bin Laden's closest associates, an engineer named Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, places a piece of paper on the table. On it, a simple sketch: multiple planes flying simultaneously into buildings on the east and west coasts of the United States. The concept was primitive in its elegance. Don't use missiles, don't use conventional bombs, use commercial aircraft as weapons. American strategists had never seriously considered this. When they thought about terrorism, they thought explosives and hostages. Bin Laden initially rejected the plan, too ambitious, too hard to execute. But after the embassy bombings, after the Cole, he called Khalid Sheikh Mohammed back. Everything we've done until now, it's nothing. Traditional methods are obsolete. He ordered the plan developed. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who studied engineering in the United States and is currently serving his sentence at Guantanamo Bay, was the intellectual architect. He brought the concept of high technology terrorism to Al-Qaeda. The original plan called for 10 planes hitting both coasts simultaneously. Bin Laden scaled it back to the East Coast only. He insisted on hitting the White House, but Mohammed talked him out of it. What was the total budget for the most destructive terrorist attack in history? $500,000. The money moved through bank transfers and cash carried by couriers. Never a large transaction to avoid detection by banking systems. And bin Laden personally selected every one of the 19 hijackers. September 11, 2001, in a single morning, nearly 3,000 people are killed, 14,000 injured. 2 towers fall in New York. Part of the Pentagon collapses in Virginia. A fourth plane goes down in a Pennsylvania field. And the image of America as an untouchable superpower collapses along with them. Bin Laden watches it all live on television from a guest house in Kandahar. 3 days later, America knows the name of the man who ordered it. The C.I.A. had been tracking him for years. Congress gives the president a blank check to wage war on terrorism anywhere against anyone. 7 days after the attacks, the U.S. demands the Taliban hand over Al-Qaeda's leadership. The Taliban refuses. The bombs start falling. October 7, 2001, Operation Enduring Freedom begins. Dozens of combat aircraft, hundreds of cruise missiles. The Taliban's air force is destroyed on the runway. By mid-November, Kabul falls, and yet the two men the entire operation was built around, Mullah Omar and Osama bin Laden, are nowhere to be found. The reason? A catastrophic strategic error. The Pentagon decided to fight this war with aircraft and local warlords. No serious ground force to seal the mountains. They paid Pakistani and Afghan commanders millions in cash to block the exits from Tora Bora, the mountainous area on the Pakistani border where bin Laden was cornered. Those warlords took American money, then they took Taliban money, which was more. And on the night of December 16th, bin Laden and his fighters slipped through the mountains into Pakistan. American surveillance tracked movement. The Pakistani army somehow never managed to seal the border in time. Bin Laden had vanished. Again. For the next 3 years, he drops completely off the grid. He lives in simple houses without electricity. He moves only at night. No phones, no communications technology. Messages passed hand to hand by trusted couriers on scraps of paper. Al-Qaeda fractures, Zawahiri hides separately. Fighters are killed or captured. The organization that once had training bases, engineers, and pilots becomes a loose network of disconnected groups. He writes to his sons, "If I die, don't seek revenge, just live quietly." 2004. Pakistani special forces surround a house where bin Laden is spending the night. The raid begins. He escapes through an underground tunnel 40 minutes before the assault begins. Dozens of soldiers die in the operation. A year later, the CIA pays $10 million to a Pakistani informant for bin Laden's precise location. The coordinates lead to an empty cave. The informant had split the money with one of bin Laden's couriers. 2006. Tired of moving, bin Laden makes a decision. He chooses a permanent home, not the mountains, not the tribal belt. Abbottabad, a quiet military garrison town not far from Islamabad, home to officer academies and elite colleges, the perfect hiding place, concealed among the very people whose job was to find him. He builds a fortified compound that stands out from everything around it. He lives on the top floor, paces the inner courtyard for exercise, and watches the news for only a few minutes each day. Neighbors thought a wealthy eccentric lived there. He records audio messages no more than once a year, writes letters, writes poetry, a gilded cage. Pakistani intelligence knew he was somewhere in the country. They kept him alive because a living bin Laden gave them leverage over the Taliban, over Washington, and over every radical group in the region. 2009. President Barack Obama refocuses attention on bin Laden. A small team of analysts at C.I.A. headquarters in Langley begins piecing together a puzzle. A vehicle keeps appearing, making regular runs between Peshawar and Abbottabad. The driver, an unremarkable man named Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. He speaks little, avoids public spaces. He only interacts with a tight circle of trusted contacts. And he keeps pulling up to a specific compound in Abbottabad, always alone. Never brings anyone in, never takes anyone out. Satellites, drones, rotating surveillance teams. The CIA rents a house nearby and turns it into an observation post. But someone is clearly inside. Someone important. February 2011. C.I.A. Director Leon Panetta meets with Obama. The president asks, "What's the probability that bin Laden is in that compound?" Panetta, 60 to 80%, no photograph, no audio, no conclusive proof, only everything pointing to someone very important hiding very carefully. Then one of the analysts, a woman named Gina Bennett, whose identity was only publicly revealed in 2025, and who was the real-life basis for the character in the film Zero Dark 30, says the line that becomes the deciding factor. If this isn't bin Laden, then whoever is living there is hiding exactly like bin Laden would. Obama weighs the options for weeks: aerial bombardment, a drone strike, a joint operation with Pakistani forces ruled out immediately, given how many times they'd taken American money and then warned the target, or a ground raid by special operations. The vice president was against it. The secretary of defense was for it. Obama chose the raid. The unit selected SEAL Team 6, the most elite special operations force in the United States military, called back from Afghanistan, told they're going to a training exercise. They walk into a classified briefing room and see a full-scale model of a compound. Their commander tells them, "We found bin Laden, you're going in." They rehearse every detail hundreds of times. Corridors are rebuilt nightly because no one knows the interior layout. At one point, the admiral asks one of the operators, "What's the single worst thing that could happen?" The operator answers, "A helicopter crashes in the courtyard." The entire room looks at him like he's insane. April 30th, 2011, the White House hosts a major press gala. President Obama jokes and laughs all evening. A room full of reporters with no idea that hours earlier, Obama had already given the order to launch. The instructions were clear. If the raid went wrong, the president would leave early, citing a stomachache. He never had to. The weather was bad that night. The operation was pushed back 24 hours. The night of May 1st, 2 military helicopters lift off from a base in Afghanistan. Others follow as backup. They fly low to stay off Pakistani radar. Pakistani jets scramble but don't interfere. Then comes what had been predicted. The first helicopter loses control on approach and crashes into the compound. The carefully rehearsed plan falls apart instantly. The second helicopter improvises, landing outside the perimeter. The SEALs are on their own now. They breach the outer wall. 2 teams converge inside. Women are screaming, children crying. Bin Laden's courier opens a door and opens fire. He's killed instantly. On the ground floor, 2 men try to hide. They're neutralized immediately. The operators move upstairs. Top floor. A bearded man steps out from behind a bedroom door, turns and tries to retreat into the room. One operator fires and misses. Inside, 2 women throw themselves in front of bin Laden. One lunges toward the team. She is shot in the leg and pulled aside. The lead operator fires twice, once in the chest, once in the head. Osama bin Laden is dead. He later described what he felt in that moment. Absolutely nothing. The job was done. No joy, no anger, just silence and focus. Over the radio, a short message goes out. Geronimo C.I.A, enemy killed in action. Obama and Panetta stare at the screen. Nobody speaks. Then Panetta says, "We got him." The operators spend the next minutes collecting everything: documents, drives, storage devices. They destroy the crashed helicopter so the technology doesn't fall into Pakistani hands. 38 minutes after it began, 8 minutes over schedule, they leave with the body of the most wanted man in history. Bin Laden's body is flown to a Navy aircraft carrier. Within 24 hours, in accordance with Islamic burial rites, it is placed in a weighted bag and slipped into the sea. No country agreed to accept the remains, and no grave was ever marked, deliberately so that no shrine could ever be built. The evening of May 1st, 2011, President Obama addresses the nation. "Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda." The public immediately demanded proof, an image of the body. The CIA director initially said the photos would eventually be released. The White House overruled him. Obama made the final call. The images would never be published. "I'm not going to use this as a trophy," he said. And so the world was left with the statement, the DNA confirmation, the burial at sea, and a Pakistani man's 3 tweets from the middle of the night. 10 years of searching, billions of dollars spent, 1 CIA analyst in Langley, 1 vehicle, 2 bullets, 38 minutes, and 1 question that remains. What exactly did we gain? Bin Laden's deepest hope after September 11th was revolution, the collapse of American power, the expulsion of Western influence from the Muslim world. None of that happened. But what did happen is something he may have understood better than anyone. America spent over $2 trillion fighting 2 wars. Al-Qaeda spent $500,000 on September 11th. The return on that in chaos and destabilization, in the fracturing of Western confidence, was staggering. And the organization he built didn't die with him. It became a franchise. Without a central structure, without a single leader, the ideology survived. It spread into new groups across 3 continents, into lone actors, radicalized by nothing more than a laptop and an internet connection. The era of one big monster is over. Now there are many and they all have internet access.